Shalom friends, welcome back to tutorial number 2 on learning the Hebrew Alef-Bet. In this tutorial we're going to pick up two new Hebrew characters and one new vowel mark. So we get situated with tutorial number 2 here. And let me just say a few things before we get started. First is the quality of the video. I'm really not certain how these are going to come out. I noticed that I'm using Microsoft Paint to write on, and then when I convert this to video, a lot of times it's wider than it is the height wise. I'm not sure if that's going to, the appearance of how that's going to turn out. I apologize for that. I think most people are using flat, widescreen monitors now. If not, I'll try to, I don't know, do something in the future. Please just comment, let me know, how it appears on your end. Definitely don't want to kind of waste everybody's time making these videos, but also let me direct your attention over here to the left. In the last video we learned the bet and the vet. I'm not going to write the names down again, but this was the first Hebrew character we learned, which was the bet, equivalent to the English B, and the other one was the V or vet. And I'm going to do this for every subsequent lesson, so we'll just keep everything tallied over here to the left as we go along and learn new characters till eventually we'll learn the entire Alef-Bet. The two vowel marks, the first was the chamatz, and like I said, you don't necessarily need to get worried about the names. If you want to memorize the names, that's fine, but we're basically right now just want to worry about the pronunciation. That gives a kind of a soft A vocalization or pronunciation to our letters, and the patah, the second one here, does the same. And remember, I'm just using an A for the patah, AH on the chamatz, so that when you're up here looking at my English, you'll know what vowel mark I am referring to. Okay, so the two new letters that we're going to pick up in this tutorial is, the first one is the dalet. That is supposed to be a T, and the second one here is the resh. Let me do that again. Resh. You want to kind of trill that R just like you would in Spanish. You can see why we learn them together. They look very similar in appearance. Remember that this is the block script, so this is the script that we would normally read in. There's not much difference in the handwriting script, but I'll show you that as well. The dalet gets the pronunciation of the equivalent to the English D. So when we see that, we just want to pronounce that as da, and then the resh is going to be equivalent to English R, but it's kind of, like I said, going to kind of be trilled. And then finally, the vowel mark we're learning here is called a tsere. I'm going to spell it this way. You don't really necessarily, you can learn these if you want to go along or come back. The more important thing is to know what pronunciation they add to our letters, and this is going to get like a hard A. So I'm just going to denote this by an AY. In English, we would typically do something like draw a bar over the top, but just for future reference, you'll know that I'm talking about the tsere. I'm using the hard A. I mean AY, like in day or ray. Here again, I recommend while you're learning this to practice the block script, although you'll normally not write the block script. Typically you use the handwriting script. So I'm just going to briefly show you both the dalet and the resh in the block script. But you want to practice these like on a single line each on a piece of paper. The dalet is just a horizontal line across, and then a vertical line downwards. And you got that kind of squared off at the top. The resh is going to be one single stroke. It's going to be more like straight downwards like that. If we do the dalet again, one more time, and then the resh, you can see how very similar they appear, but how easy they are to write. Okay, So practice those and get used to what they look like and uh, how you would speak them in as we go along. Okay, in the handwriting script, which we'll do in exercise 3, and remember this is particularly what you would write in modern Israel. They're very similar. The dalet though is kind of almost like a 2, writing the equivalent of a well, I think of it like the number, I guess, but you don't go straight across, you come straight down. And remember, your page break or your page line would be down here. Let me erase that so you don't confuse that. So that would be your dalet. The resh is going to look very similar to the way you write it in handwriting, the block script. You just come around almost like the number 7. So we'll do the dalet again. It's a better one there. One more time, and then the resh. Okay. Now, if we practice them with the vowel marks we learned in the previous lesson, the chamatz and the patah, along with the tzeri, the one we're learning today, and that's what I typically do in exercise 4, is just go ahead, combine it with everything you learned with the previous vowel marks, and you can obviously I'm limited by the room that of what I can write up here, but you can come up with several different variations on your own. Okay, so briefly we're just basically reviewing what we did in tutorial 1. So va would be the vet. Remember, it's got the hook, and then the AH, I'm going to use a chamatz. For ba, it's going to be almost identical, same vowel mark, except I'm going to put the dagesh in the middle to denote that gets the B pronunciation, ba. Okay. Now let's use the new letters we learned, which would be the dalet. So for day, we would use dalet, and then get that hard A vowel mark or pronunciation. We're going to put the tzeri beneath, which is the 2 dots, and that would give us the pronunciation like day. We do the same with re. We use a resh. And notice I drew that kind of more like a 7 number. That's fine as well. And then we put the 2 dots below. The equivalent of da would be dalet, and then the chamatz. And then ra, we could use the chamatz as well. Now I avoided the patah. I don't know why I did that, but it was just when I made this out. So in other words, you could use the horizontal line as well and get the same pronunciation. So on exercise 5, we can start to pick up on some actual Hebrew. Daber is a word. We'll leave that the meaning of that for we'll pick up some of the meanings later on. But this is going to be composed of 3 consonants and 2 vowel marks. So however you like to do it, if you want to put the consonants first and then put the vowel marks, I kind of do it all at once, just like I think it's easier. So we get dalet, the patah. We're going to get a bet, dagesh in the middle, hard A vowel mark, and then we're going to end that with resh. Daber as a verb typically refers to something with respect to speaking or saying. Excuse me there. You'll see that word used quite a lot in the Torah. Oh, even in modern Israel, but especially if you're in biblical Israel, when God's telling someone to say something, thus saith the Lord, etc. Bar, we're going to use a bet. So dagesh in the middle, a patah, and then resh. And if you've ever heard the words like bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, etc., that's a common word, 2-letter word in Hebrew. Rav would be resh. We use the chamatz, and then the vet. And Rav, I would kind of think of this with respect to like rabbi. Although we don't know all the like teacher, rabbi, Ravi, you'll see different variations of that. And when we learn all the letters, and we can create bigger words. These last two, beira, are kind of like parts of a word. Beira, or they sound like words in Hebrew. So we're going to use a bet, the tseri, for the be, and then a resh, and the hamatz down below. And we can phonetically say that like bera. And that is actually in Hebrew berashit bera. Although you spell it differently, that would be kind of like the verb created, or to create, part of the infinitive to create. So we'll get to that later on, but like I said, these last two are kind of parts of a word. Bava would be like a bet, the patah, the vet, and then the patah. And there's another word in Hebrew, bavakasha, meaning like please, aslicha, oh well, I'm sorry. Slicha Adonai, bavakasha, excuse me sir, please, tell me this or that. So those are just incomplete words at the moment, but that's something you can do. Here again, just you don't necessarily even need to know what you're writing. Just practice all that you can, making combinations of words, even if it's just gibberish, just so you can get used to writing the words in both the block and the handwriting script with the vowel. One last thing that you can do that I think always makes a good exercise is to try to write words down in English, like dare, raid, oops, and then radar. These are English words that we can use the letters we've learned so far to phonetically write, or to write them and phonetically, get a similar. They'll sound. We're just basically writing English and Hebrew. I don't know if I need to go beyond that. But for example, dare. Well, that's just a dalet. The hard A, the tseri, the new vowel mark we just learned, and then resh, and that's equivalent to dare. Or that's, it sounds like the English word dare. The same with raid. We can just use resh, the tseri, hard A vowel mark, and then the dalet, and that would be like raid. The last one would be radar, and let's see, we'd use a resh, hard A vowel mark, the dalet, and we could use either one. We'll just use the chamatz, and you get a word that sounds similar to radar. Radar, except in Hebrew, would be more, if I can get it right, it'd be more like radar. That's weird for me, but kind of trill your R if you can. Okay, so that's tutorial 2. We'll end it now, and we'll pick up on the next tutorial. But as we go along, you get used to these little exercises that I show you. But don't forget this last one that I just added in. Another thing you can do is try to spell English names, or whatever your native language is. Try to spell the names, or the names of cities, using the Hebrew character. That's always a good example, because there is really no right or wrong way of doing that. You're just, like I said, wanting to memorize the Alef-Bet and the way to accurately pronounce words in Hebrew as you learn them later on. So we'll pick up in the next video. Thanks for watching.